Welcome back, everybody. Today's deep dive is going to be kind of tough, but really important. We're going to be talking about Madison Holleran. She was a student at the University of Pennsylvania and a track athlete. And we're going to be looking at her life and her tragic death. We'll be taking most of our information from Kate Fagan's book, What Made Maddy Run. It gives a really in-depth look into Madison's world. So, on the surface, she seemed to have it all, right?
Yeah, the all-American girl, star athlete, great school.
Yeah, exactly. But as we'll see, there was so much more going on beneath the surface, like what was really going on, what led to her suicide, and what can we learn from her story, to maybe help understand the pressures that young people face today.
That's what makes this so compelling.
Yeah.
Going beyond the headlines to really try to get a sense of her world, her struggles, and maybe prevent something like this from happening again.
Exactly. So to give you a little background, Madison grew up in Allendale, New Jersey. Before college, her life seemed pretty idyllic, star athlete, strong family ties, close with her friends.
Yeah. The book really paints this picture of this, perfect childhood almost.
Yeah, almost like a storybook life,
Yeah, and I think that's important because it helps us understand the contrast later on.
Right, the contrast with what she went through. I mean, think about this. On her 16th birthday, she was playing in the state championship soccer game with her team, the Allendale Americans.
Oh, wow.
They won.
What a way to celebrate a birthday.
Right, and, she went to Penn, an Ivy League school. It was a dream she shared with her close group of friends. She seemed genuinely excited about this next chapter.
But that's where things start to shift, right?
Yeah, the transition to college, even for someone as accomplished as Madison, can be rough.
It's a whole new world.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about the academics, although she definitely felt pressure there.
I can imagine.
She wrote in her journals about, feeling lost in some classes. The feedback was really abstract, and she wasn't used to not excelling immediately.
Oh, so it was a real hit to her confidence.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the classes. Being surrounded by all these other high-achieving students at Penn probably didn't help. It's easy to start questioning yourself in that kind of environment. Like, everyone's accomplished, so where do you fit in?
It's almost like her success, which had always been a source of confidence, became a burden in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like a standard she couldn't live up to.
And then you have the whole pen face thing, which the book talks about.
Oh, right. Like this pressure to project an image of success no matter what.
Yeah, to never show any weakness, to always be on.
That must have been so isolating, especially for someone already feeling unsure of herself.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you can't be your true self, You have to put on this mask all the time.
Yeah, so you have this super driven young woman who's used to succeeding through hard work, but now she's in a place where that's not enough. And she feels this pressure to be perfect.
And that's just the beginning. It's like the stage is set for something to happen.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in the next part of our deep dive.
There are also emails that Maddie sent to her friend Ingrid.
Ingrid?
Yeah, where she talks about how difficult this transition to college has been for her.
Yeah.
She was finally relieved to find a friend, but the overall experience was just really difficult.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a big adjustment for anyone.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like for her it was extra hard.
Yeah, and I think this is where her perfectionism becomes really apparent.
Oh, interesting.
You see it in those early chapters, particularly in her relationship with her soccer coach, Kobus Reinecke.
Kobus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, she constantly sought reassurance from him. Even though she was so talented, she needed that validation.
I'm curious, when we talk about perfectionism, what exactly are we talking about? Like, is it just about wanting to do well? Or is there something more to it?
Yeah, I mean, perfectionism is definitely more than just, striving for excellence.
Okay.
It's this relentless pursuit of flawlessness.
Okay.
And it's often coupled with this fear of failure and harsh self-criticism.
Oh, wow.
So, and while it can be motivating in some ways, it can also be incredibly debilitating.
Yeah, it just sounds exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
Like always feeling like you have to be perfect.
Exactly. It creates this constant state of anxiety, makes it hard to really enjoy achievements.
Right.
And it leads to this fear of even taking risks.
I see. So it's not just about, like, being a high achiever.
Right.
It's like a whole mindset.
Absolutely a mindset.
Okay, so do you think, it makes you wonder if Maddie's need for perfection
Oh, for sure.
played a role in her struggles?
I think so, especially with the transition to college.
Yeah.
I mean, college is a huge adjustment for anyone.
Right.
But for someone like Maddie who thrived on structure and achievement, that transition seemed to, magnify those anxieties.
Okay.
And, the academic pressure at a school like Penn is immense.
Yeah.
And she was constantly worried about her grades.
I bet.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And I can imagine, like, going to a new place, being away from your,
your support system.
Yeah, your family, your friends.
Right. And the book emphasizes that she felt lost.
Really?
Yeah. And, she was lacking those clear benchmarks for success.
Oh, that's interesting.
She was used to that in high school.
Right.
You have grades, you have standardized tests.
Yeah, there's a clear path.
There's a clear path, athletic competitions, but college is different.
Yeah, it is.
It's about exploring different paths,
Yeah, figuring things out.
Yeah, figuring things out. And that can be really disorienting.
Right.
Especially for someone who thrives on structure and external validation.
Wow. Yeah. I could see how that would be a tough transition.
And then you add in social media on top of everything else.
Oh, right. Like that adds a whole other layer of complexity.
It really does. Because on social media, she was presenting this perfect life, smiling, happy, achieving all these things.
Yeah. But we know behind that facade, she was struggling.
Exactly. And that disconnect probably made things even worse. It's like this constant comparison to this idealized version of yourself.
Yeah, it's like a trap, You feel like you have to project this image of perfection, and that just adds to the pressure.
The book talks about how, her Instagram feed, full of these happy pictures, might have actually made her feel more isolated.
Wow, so it's like the opposite of what it's supposed to do.
Right, it's supposed to connect you, but it can end up making you feel even more alone.
It makes you wonder if anyone really knew what she was going through, She was so good at hiding it.
That's the thing about mental health. It's often invisible.
And she wasn't ignoring her problems either. The book mentions that she was working out like crazy, pushing herself physically.
That's interesting.
And she even started looking into transferring to other schools, hoping for a fresh start.
So she was trying to make changes.
Yeah, but it seems like she was just, grasping at anything.
It's like she was trying to outrun her problems, but they kept catching up.
Exactly. She was also seeing a therapist.
Oh, so she was trying to get help.
Yeah, but it seems like the anxiety and depression, it was just this cycle,
Yeah, it's not always a straight line to recovery. There are ups and downs.
And then there's this big decision she makes, quitting the track team.
Wow, that's huge.
I know, right? For someone as dedicated as Madison?
It really shows how much she must have been struggling.
The book talks about this letter she wrote to her coach, explaining her decision.
I bet that was a tough letter to write.
It was. It was so heartfelt, so well written. You could just feel the internal conflict she was going through.
Like she was giving up a part of herself.
Yeah. But even after quitting track, the struggle didn't end.
So it wasn't just about track.
It seems like it was something deeper, like a feeling of not belonging,
It's so hard when you feel like you don't fit in anywhere.
And that's what makes this story so tragic, She seemed to have it all, but inside she was falling apart.
It's a reminder that we can't judge people based on their outward appearance.
And we need to be more compassionate and understanding.
Yeah, because you never know what someone's going through.
Exactly. It's hard to process,
It really is.
Like, how could someone so young, with so much ahead of her, feel so hopeless?
It's a question that I think stays with all of us who hear her story. And it makes you think about the pressures we all face,
Absolutely. And it makes you question, what really matters? What are we chasing after?
Right. I think that's one of the things I find most powerful about the book. It doesn't give you easy answers. It just lays out this really raw and honest look at mental health.
It really does. And it leaves you with this, gut-wrenching feeling,
I know what you mean.
But it also makes you want to do something to help, to make a difference.
Absolutely. We need to talk about this more. We need to be more aware of what people are going through, even if they don't show it.
Yeah, we can't just assume everyone's okay because they seem happy on the outside.
Exactly. We need to be kinder, more understanding, more willing to listen.
And we need to challenge this whole culture of perfection.
Oh, yeah. This idea that we always have to be striving, achieving, projecting this perfect image.
It's exhausting.
It is. And like we see with Madison, it can be really dangerous.
Yeah, we need to create space for vulnerability, for imperfection. It's okay to not be okay.
It really is.
And it's okay to ask for help.
That's so important. And you know what? Madison did ask for help. She went to counseling.
Right, which shows how strong she actually was to admit she needed help.
Exactly.
It's so sad that it wasn't enough. But her story can be a catalyst for change,
I hope so.
We can honor her memory by prioritizing mental health, by being more open about these issues. by challenging those harmful norms, those expectations.
Yeah, we need to create a world where people feel safe to talk about their struggles.
And where they can get the help they need.
The book mentions the Madison Holleran Foundation, which her family started. It helps young people navigate the challenges of college life and promotes mental health awareness.
It's amazing what they're doing.
It really is.
It's a beautiful way to honor her legacy and to turn such a tragedy into something positive.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always hope.
Yeah, and that reaching out for help, whether for ourselves or someone else, is a sign of strength.
You are not alone.
Thank you all for joining us on this really tough but incredibly important deep dive. If you or someone you know needs help, please reach out. You can find resources, including information about the Madison Holleran Foundation and Kate Fagan's book, What Made Maddy Run, in the show notes. We'll see you next time.